So overall, we had a very successful workday. There was, however, an incident that happened at the workday that I've heard about from a few people that I'm a little disheartened about. Apparently, there was a disagreement, Wayne, between you and a few of the other guys that were there, and some of the other guys. Just quickly, the guys that helped you on Hole 9, were those guys? I know that Max was there, and Spider-Man was there, and Fish was there. Was some of the guys there?
Spider-Man wasn't there.
Spider-Man was not there?
He wasn't there, no.
Okay, I thought he was. I'm sorry. There were some other guys there that I had not seen before. Were those guys members of the club?
Everybody there working with me was a member of this club.
Okay,
yes.
good. Thank you. Because I just hadn't met them before, and I wanted to double check, and it hit me later on that we don't want to...
I didn't want to step out of any boundaries.
That's right.
Everybody there was a member of the club, and I made sure of that. Thank
you. I just wanted to double check and bring up the point that, you know, the MOU does say it is between, number one, between us, the club, and the county, so we can't, it's not between us and some other people that are friends of the club and the county. You must be a member to materially participate in our work days for insurance purposes.
Really?
Yes. It says in the general provision section of the MOU that NHDGC cannot hire any subcontractors without the written permission of the county. If somebody walks up and says, "Hi, my name's so-and-so, can I help y'all cut them roots out?" and he's not a member of the club, and we shake his hand and pay him with a smile and a handshake and say, "Here's an axe," we just hired an outside contractor to help with that. Now, hey, look, if you disagree with that, I'll ask about it. But I read the MOU, that's my understanding. If we're going to be having a work day where people are slinging hammers and axes and things like that, our insurance does not cover Joe Random that walks up and wants to help. It only covers members of the club. And thank you, Wayne, for only bringing out members of the club to help you. That's thinking ahead.
What I think you're missing is...
By the way, all of them were also members of the Players Round Club. They are all also members of this club. We're having an attempt here to come together and work on this course.
Absolutely. What I think you might be misinterpreting. The insurance policy is not to cover, if I'm a club member of the club and I get hurt at a work day, it's not to cover me getting hurt. The insurance policy is if somebody were out at Castle Hayne Park attending a work day or attending our tournament, and they get hurt and they sue us. That's what that policy is.
Well, that's what I was
And when you're at a tournament, you're not a club member.
No.
Anybody can play the tournament. And if they get hurt at that tournament and sue us, it doesn't protect me, you, or anybody. It protects the club. And they can't go after you personally. They can't say, Mike Bozick was running that tournament. I got hurt at that tournament. I'm going to sue the club and Mike Bozick. That's what it's not a health insurance policy.
No.
It's a liability policy. And the way that I've always run work days, and you're more than welcome to run any way you want to, buddy. I'm not arguing one bit. I'm just saying that for me, the more the merrier. Yeah. You want to come and work at our work day? Bring it.
Maybe you should have a disclaimer form for everybody at work day to fill out.
I just want to throw that out there because that's how I always said, if you want to play a tournament, if you want to come to a work day, buddy, we will. You want to sweat with us? Come on, sweat with us. Right. Now, obviously, the work day would be run by the club. Sure. The decisions of that work day would be decided by the club. But if Fish wants to come and pick up a shovel, I say, man, come on and pick up a shovel.
Fish is a member of this club, too.
Yeah. Cool, I didn't know that.
So basically what we have is a bond instead of an insurance policy.
Yeah.
But what about from the county standpoint?
We ours are on, and you're right, Dave, and I misspoke it. I wasn't thinking about...
I think you were just misinterpreting. I think you were reading one thing and interpreting it a different way.
Do we need a workday disclaimer
I'm not sure
form?
how strictly that is. I will just simply say, from my point of view, as being responsible for all of us in a sense,
that's you are.
That I would almost rather that we when it comes to something like that, and a tournament is separate from a work day. It's two different functions with two different sort of purposes. We're inviting non-members to come out and play at tournaments, whereas with a work day, it's really a club function. So to make sure that we don't put ourselves in any hot water, let's just generally, at least for the foreseeable future, stick to the policy of only having members physically, materially participate in them And if you have someone that's thinking about joining, they want to come out and watch, that's fine. But let's just look. I don't see an incredible amount of people showing up that aren't members who want to help. So it's not that big of a deal. Let's just not, and I'll clarify this with the county since there is some discrepancy. Is there anything else anyone wants to add?
We're gonna have to set another work day at Arrowhead, or what?
Should.
We're going to be setting up a subcommittee meeting, and then and that will be the first quote unquote work day, if you will. We probably won't be actually cutting anything as much as we will be walking through and talking about the adjustments that are going to be made and intelligently discussing them.
Does there need to be any trimming at Arrowhead? That would be a nice, easy thing to do too. That we can put it out
There is
there.
Not
a little
what?
bit, I
A
mean,
little bit of trimming.
Trimming?
there's always a little bit, especially with spring coming up.
Yep.
You know, well,
Yeah, the fairways, a lot of the fairways are real furry.
I can tell you right now that the county wants this design before spring. So trimming is going to be secondary to getting the pads and pins correct and the holes in the situation sorted out. We already talked about, moving on, we already talked about Castle Haynes signage. The Castle Haynes multi-purpose trail, well, this is something that I guess was brought up to the club a few months ago. Rudy made me aware of it, but it was determined that it would probably be another 5 or so years before we got into it.
Good.
However, a couple weeks ago, I got an email or spoke to Tara about the fact that they have a preliminary drawing for the multi-purpose trail and that I would go out and take a look at the pins or the flags they put in the ground. I did, and the trail cuts right through the middle of 17 and 18 perpendicularly. So I was, she also impressed upon me a time frame of a few days to make the decision on what to do, what to get my input. So I sent out a quick email to some of the senior members of the club, Scott, Brant, Troy, Rudy, DG, maybe somebody else, and just said, look, this is happening all too quick. Let's get your input. I sent them a map, and thank you for the guys that did respond and give me your input. I went out and met with Rudy, and we walked and looked at the areas. It looks like it's more than just that may be interrupting our course, possibly along hole 6, possibly along hole 10. It may come into 11's fairway as well a little bit. So I put together a preliminary plan. I asked them to, rather than cut through the middle of 17 and 18, to simply follow all the way down the rest of the left side of hole 17, loop around behind hole 17 and 18 and come up the right field side of the ballpark rather than the left field side of the ballpark, thus preserving hole 17 and 18. They were receptive to that. She sent the idea to their designer. Their designer is working on integrating it.
Nice.
The timeline has slowed down a little bit, so it's not all rush at the moment. But I will say that we still got work to do, because if we still allow them to go down the left side of 17, it's going to affect play on 17. 17 at the end of it goes right up against the line, the property line. There's a ditch there, and if someone's walking all the way down the length of 17 on the left side as you drive and as you make your up shots, they come into play. So, since there's new land appropriated for us, we've got to come up with a solution that either puts the trail on the new land or puts some of our holes on the new land, or perhaps hole 17 itself may have to be adjusted. The main thing I'm worried about, and Rudy, I know you are too, is we don't want this walking trail to detract the play on the course. I think it's a bad idea if people have to stand on a third or a quarter of the pads and wait for people on the walking trails to pass before they can throw. That's seriously detracting from the features of the disc golf park.
It's
It
dangerous.
is, but,
Okay.
guys, but we all know that there are thousands of disc golf courses in this country that play in parks with sidewalks. I'm not saying that you're wrong.
Well,
But honestly, it's everywhere. If you got to wait a few minutes to throw, it's.
But if we can avoid it, now look,
Absolutely.
do we want that going on during a tournament?
I mean, it's one thing we're going to have to deal with. It's once again, there are parks in this country
I'll tell
that
you,
have walking sidewalks.
I am really concerned because I think it's really gonna change our course. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because these are gonna be 10-foot wide asphalt
They're going to cut
trails.
trees. They're going to
Well, when they put these in, they've got to have dump trucks to bring in the rock. They've got to have an asphalt paver to come in. They're going to take trees out, and it's. I mean, if you just think about the left side of 17 and a lot of trees out of there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It'll be a
You
lot
know,
more
and,
distance.
if you look at the map, you look at hole 6. It's
It's close.
it's
Very close.
well, you know, that's why I think Mike and I, and anybody else who wants to join us, would like to meet with them and see exactly where they're gonna put these along 6. You know, whether, I mean, if you look at the map, it looks like it's into the woods.
Who's
It's
the
not,
architect?
it's actually not
I don't know.
that far into the woods.
Well, I mean, you know,
By the way,
Left side of 6 or right side of 6?
hard
to say.
right by the parking lot, right
So
where
left
you are.
side.
Yeah, left side of 6.
Who's
But,
the
you know, it doesn't take much of a swath there to really detract from that
Oh,
hole.
absolutely.
We're not
And-
saying don't do it, we're just saying we want to say to them, let us help you design this. and
Well-
let
well,
us
for
work
instance-
with
If
you."
they're willing to, that's.
Yeah.
that's-
I mean, I agree with Rudy, the equipment they bring in to do that,
No,
it's
there's
gonna
no
do
doubt.
more damage than the trail will.
There's no doubt.
But
about
for
that.
instance, if we're walking with them and we say, instead of putting this in the woods, why not extend that where the parking lot is and just move the asphalt some more.
So is that
10
gonna be, it's
foot
gonna be asphalt or is it gonna be sidewalk?
Asphalt.
It's gonna be asphalt?
Yeah, that's what I've heard, it's gonna be asphalt.
bring it
So if you just,
What's that?
The asphalt? We'll put it as OB.
No, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
but I mean, you know, if we just make it where the asphalt ends now, and make it 10 foot from there, you're not removing all that much. But if they say, well, we're gonna put it in the woods on, you know, to the right.
The thing is there's so much land out there. There's no reason, unless just the county parks department just doesn't care for them to mess with that. There's so much property out there. There's no
And-
reason for them to bring this over this way.
I would agree with you. That's why I think there should be a walkthrough with them.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
we're not, so, I mean, maybe I'm completely off, you know, and I hope that's right.
Right.
I hope that's right. But if you look at the map along 10 too, it shows it into the woods there. And I don't understand, they didn't highlight there being a trail there, but there is a trail there.
Two questions.
If you
First of
look,
all, who's the architect? You know, is the name of the architect on there?
You can put the asphalt down the top of the road.
Mike knows who.
I don't know who the name of, it's a lady, that's all I know at this point, I don't know the name of the designer.
Well, as a suggestion to whoever goes there, make sure you guys are telling them, I mean, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, that's, and everybody here knows that, but make sure you're stressing to them how we're really, this is gonna negatively affect the
It will.
course as a whole.
That's what I was telling
Don't
Mike
go there
earlier.
and just be willing to say, do what you want.
I already sent the email to Woody White, the commissioner of the county, telling him when he was on the TV and talking about how he didn't know nothing about disc golf. I immediately emailed him and told him how important it was to put Castle Hayne back to at least what it is now after these new designs. And he said that, you know, he is apprised of the situation and he is aware that disc golf is important. Told him there was thousands of disc golfers out here. Told him that Arrowhead was the new course out there, but it's more like a chip and putt, and we don't need Castle Hayne to be smaller than it already is.
I think if you emphasize safety the most, I think there's somebody
Yeah,
will actually start listening.
Woody's reply to me was, I'm quickly finding out what disc golf is.
Find out more.
Another thing is, I'm sorry.
No, please, go ahead.
I have looked at another way that they can do it that would not affect the course at all.
Okay, right on.
However, they gotta be willing to do it.
Yeah, that's
You
the
know,
truth.
that's.
I need to try
Show it
to
to
talk
them.
to the architect lady.
Yeah, I think if you
whoever
emphasize
it is,
safety, I
and
think
make sure
they'll-
she
they're gonna have to listen to it.
understands
Yeah.
In the end, what she's
Keep
pushing
costs low.
is what you're gonna end up
Probably what
using
you're
more than
gonna
likely.
Yeah.
But,
I-
and there's a good possibility she doesn't know what disc golf is.
Right.
Right.
And that's the point of,
You're absolutely right. You have a point to make?
Yes. All right, the county's main concern, and this is any county in the United States, heads and beds. That's what we're looking for. Any
Well-
park, they're looking for heads and beds. How many heads can they put in hotel beds? All right, I did a rough estimate, very rough, but this is not exact, this past weekend. By this past weekend's figures, we have a total of 37 a day play disc golf at Castleton Park,
On average?
on average.
Okay.
That's 37 people a day.
I would have thought it'd been higher, but I don't know.
Well, no, I'm
Higher
just,
too.
and that's a very rough estimate just
137.
from this past weekend.
Average,
Now, I would need 4 or 5 more weekends to get you a more accurate measurement.
We'll let that number play out and get an accurate.
But still, 37 a day, that's 7 days a week, that's not 2 days a week, that's 7 days a week.
Well, I really think people come here from out of town to play the course.
Certainly,
I
yes.
don't think they will ever come here from out of town to walk the trails.
No, they will not.
But then
Yes,
that's
Keith.
one thing I want to, 2 points to make clear for those of you who don't know. One of the main reasons we have disc golf courses out there is because they had to find a way, they were trying to find a way to get numbers to that course to justify the park even being there. They were going to lose that park. So that's the past. But another thing you guys have to remember, the future, they're moving water and sewer into Castle Hayne, and that area's getting ready to explode. And with that, the numbers of that park are gonna go way up, and that's gonna happen. I mean, it's in the process now, and that whole area's gonna be developed. It just is what it is. That's the concern. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't care if they put 10 million walking past out there right now, if it's just for that lady and her dog, and the guy that gets cans in the morning, who cares?
Kilbourne went through the same thing a couple
Personally,
years
I'm
ago.
pro walk. I'm for pro. I'm
Let them
pro.
walk around the
Yeah, but
parking lot that's there.
Like,
Right? Free of them.
there, this dog.
Yeah, going back to Bob's point, but the last thing I would ever want to do is lose
Yeah.
17, 18. And then use that new property that we're getting, then you're going to have what? 11 holes on the front? I mean, I hope
It
to
might
God
be a
it
little
never
weird.
comes to that. I hope to God it doesn't.
I can just look at the map, see where we can jump over to that piece of property for a new 18 if we needed to. I can see where we can jump across the road and have a new 4, 5, and 6 and jump back onto 7.
Yep.
So the property almost miraculously seems to kind of work out for a possible option of doing that.
Absolutely. I mean, to lose 4 and 5 and to be able to pick it up on the front almost seamlessly
Yes,
is
yes.
a miracle for us.
It
That's
seems
a
to work
huge
out.
thing.
Right,
Let's hope we only have to put 2 and not
right.
5 holes over there.
Keep
Keith,
showing
you
that
have
we're
to
getting
Yeah,
expanded.
Kilbourne went through the same thing in Charlotte like 5 years ago. They had to redesign like 3 or 4 holes because of issues, adding another softball field, another soccer field, and they completely had to redesign like 3 or 4 different holes. I'm wondering if maybe it would be beneficial to talk to somebody that's already gone through this, and maybe we can get some good suggestions or something from them, because they're always very receptive. I mean, there's so many people in NHDGC, it's just ridiculous. They got like 300 members in their club. Maybe, just kind of reaching out to them, say, hey, what did you actually have to do to make this work? Because they redesigned several holes at Kilbourne.
I will just simply say that the county has let me know all along this process that they are not going to wreck anything that they will not fix. So we're going to hold them to it, and I trust that they're going to do that. And to just cap the conversation off for right now, they did the same thing to hole number 1 at Cliff Stevens Park, King Climo's home stomping grounds. They ran a walking trail right down the middle of hole 1, a 450-foot hole, all the way down the middle of it, and then around a blind corner. So as you're standing on hole 1, if a small family comes around the corner 450 feet away, you then have to stand there for 10 minutes until they clear. It materially lessens the experience. That's not as dramatic as what they want to do with 17, but it's very similar. And it will somehow affect play, and we will have to think about how we want to deal with that. So, and I wanted to speak real quickly on something I kind of got past us by. Back to the Arrowhead just for a second. We won't dwell on it, but I understand that there was, some disagreement about what went on with hole 11, hole 13, and blah, 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 and there was some words spoken, and I'm not going to point any fingers, and I'm not going to embarrass anybody. I'm just going to simply say that there's really no place, as certainly in this club, for expressing your disdain or anger by verbally abusing or even by verbally abusing anyone. I don't know that a physical altercation would have happened, but apparently there was some words said between the two different parties of people, and one person, who will remain nameless, was the unfair target of a lot of that. Let's not let it get out of hand like that anymore. I know that a lot of you are right now in the dark about what I'm saying, but just take my word for it. There were some people who were not happy about some of the things that happened, and they kind of took it out. I think those people have worked out their differences amongst each other by now.
He's not here. Fish is the main character in this deal.
Apparently there was...
And Alan talked to him for 30 minutes soon after it happened.
Okay. Did anyone else want to add anything? Alan, you witnessed it.
Yeah.
Would you please just fill us in quickly?
Well, it was some disrespect back and forth. It wasn't one-sided. You know, I mean, it escalated more on one side than the other. But it was controlled. You know, everybody got themselves under control. You know, we didn't, like, you know, like you said, Fish, we did talk about it. You know, and we've talked back and forth, you know, through us, and, you know, everything's settled and, you know, and relaxed and all that. We just don't need we don't need things like that to escalate in places like that.
Kyle, you witnessed what went on. You want to put your 2 cents in there?
We're all a bunch of grown guys. We don't need to get in shoving matches over disc golf.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's never happened.
Yeah, you know,
We're a laid-back crowd, you know.
Yeah.
This is disc golf.
Ever.
I didn't witness it. I only heard kind of through the grapevine what happened, and I guess Max, you were there. Wayne, you were there. Did you guys want to add your 2 cents in about what happened?
Fish is here to defend himself, and I don't really know what happened with Fish over there. There was, like you both said, there's a lot of disrespect going around.
Yeah.
I did my best to keep everything under control and make it all disappear as possible. There was about to be some accident.
Wayne, did you see or hear anything that happened?
Yeah, I saw and heard a lot. But there's no need in rehashing. I guess it's over with.
Okay. Well, you know, there's no need in going through all the dirty laundry and all the dirty details. It's over with. But, and I will simply end or cap it off by saying that it's not how we're going to conduct business in the future. If someone gets really, and I hope that this will not happen again. The whole Arrowhead workday happening at such a quick pace probably didn't help the situation either. We just cannot let this happen again. We have to be better. We have to be adults about this.
Can I ask what the content of the argument was? Like, what was the
personal? Or
what broke?
Well,
what broke?
I can tell you.
What I want to know.
I will tell you. They moved number 11. They moved the basket and took the old basket up, and there wasn't going to be any way to have a basket installed for the next day, for Sunday. And there was some debate about that, and one guy on their side said he didn't give a fuck, he wasn't going to be there Sunday. And it kind of escalated from there.
There was a bunch of other stuff too.
Like he didn't care about
That's not something though that
Sunday, but it's, you know,
it's history.
it's over with. Everything's fixed.
Some things just happened. That whole thing went together so quick, and nobody really.
Okay, can I say
Alan,
something?
please say something.
My man right here, what's your name, buddy?
Talking to me?
Yes,
My name's Dave.
You said, Dave said that the county was on your ass, and we had to make a decision, and we had to do what we thought was the best for that course at that time.
Yes.
And that's what we did. And the lashing out that came with that, it seemed like they were unhappy with the change that was made, And Fish came up to me and said, "How did you make this hole any better? You just moved the pin 3 feet." And we weren't saying, we're not trying to redesign the course. We're not trying
And
to.
at that point, Fish should have walked up, got the wheelbarrow, and went back to hole 9. If that's what Fish was there to do, he shouldn't have said a word to my son, because he doesn't make decisions. He was there with a shovel. Fish should have walked up, grabbed the wheelbarrow, and walked back to where you guys were at.
So
And that should have been all that
Fish
should have
didn't
been said.
understand that the reason the basket was being moved was because it needed to be shored up
And
was
then-
loose in the ground.
And then the issue that someone, again, I was lashed out on, so
Yes, you
I
were
won't
unfairly.
remain nameless because I'm not ashamed of this. Like I said, it's water under the bridge. You know, if you want to go throw around with me, call me up. I have no problem with that. We're all men
Well,
here.
I mean, you
We're all grown men here. But like I said, I was lashed out at by their side because of the basket being pulled up. And I did say that I don't care that the basket was up
That's
because
right.
you guys had, and I apologize for that because that was very immature of me. And I
Yes,
do.
it was.
But he didn't pull the basket up.
I did not
It don't
pull the
matter.
basket up.
It don't
Someone
matter.
was yelling.
Well, it does matter, because y'all jumped on his shit.
Y'all, guys, this is out of control. Like I said at the beginning, Fish is not here to defend himself. I have no idea how this started or what happened over there. We need to calm down now. Yeah, it's like you said.
It's
it's
water under the
right.
bridge.
But at the same time, it wasn't.
Water under the bridge.
Maybe a good time for a break.
I don't know.
Well,
The one thing that doesn't need to be said though is that the entire reason for that workday was to reset that basket. That was
That's right.
That was one of the
That's
main
right.
things that needed to happen at that
That's-
workday. So what happened was that the New Hanover Disc Golf Club, who has the memorandum of understanding to maintain Arrowhead Park, made a decision to reshore that basket, and somebody was upset about that decision and decided to
Well, I don't
lash
know.
out. Is that how?
That's
am
what-
I reading it?
I don't know.
I don't believe so.
I wasn't there when Fish went over
They were
there.
upset. They were upset because the basket was pulled out.
I tell you what
Not
pissed
by
me off.
I did not pull the basket out, but that upset them that the basket was out.
And this is what happened. We intended to leave the basket in there. We started to dig that hole. We went over to dig 13's hole, man, and I heard this banging going on over there. And I was like, what the hell is going on over there? I thought maybe somebody was banging on the new sleeve. So I ran over there, and that's where the pin was already out of the hole.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and as I said that day, as I stated that day, that was my fault.
Okay.
I'm the one that pulled the thing out of the ground.
Well, it needed to come out of the ground.
That was my fault.
So it was
No,
just
not at that point in time.
So-
it didn't.
it was a series of misunderstandings.
Oh, so
And-
what you guys want to do was leave it in the ground, put the new collar in.
And let it get hard and then move it up.
That's what the intentions were, yes.
That's what should have happened, yeah.
Well, I think too that a little of the hostility came from probably, like I said, Fish ain't here.
Right.
But the fact that there's a big group of us, at least 20-some guys, been looking at this course for over a year and trying to get some nice holes laid out. And there's a beautiful fairway there, and this basket was moved over 3 feet and put back in the ground.
3
I think that kind of was in his head a little too, you know. He's like,
Well, like I said,
So-
it's-
And again, we had to make a
I
decision.
speak for him, but he's not here.
Well, you guys are getting really upset over that we moved the basket 3 feet, but you wanted to completely
No,
redesign the hole.
no, that's not what we're, that's
No,
not
no,
what.
Are you mad about that, or are you
No.
mad about moving it?
I wasn't mad about it. Yeah, I'm not-
Okay.
What I got mad about was, there wasn't gonna be a basket there for Sunday, and they didn't seem to care.
I had
And
that covered.
huh?
I was there at 8 o'clock in the morning with the basket.
Yes, we had it.
Well,
That wasn't at the moment.
And so were
it
you.
wasn't in the moment. I mean, I had a basket ahead of you there. I mean, I was on top of it.
Come on, who cares?
I understand point.
Miscommunication.
We should let it go the first time.
I did not mean to piss anybody off, but I feel like we need to talk about it.
Me
Number
either.
one, because that is club business. We cannot have that sort of thing
That's
going on.
right.
Any more club functions or work days.
Now, had I have known, I could have made sure we had keys for that and all. You see, I took care of everything on that key pad. I took care of it. Had I known we were going to be doing that, I would have made sure
But I
that,
told you
that
on
we
the phone.
did it right.
I did tell you on the phone.
But
we
you,
were
but you
doing
didn't
it.
tell me you
Yes,
weren't on top of it. Now that I didn't know.
That I wasn't
you
on
see.
top of.
Moving the basket.
I
You
told
didn't
you
have,
we
you
were
didn't
gonna
have
shift it.
keys.
Well, that's because the county doesn't have keys.
But at the point when we went
Well, I
out and we
have
didn't
both
need
colors.
keys, we were just gonna put pin on the ground.
That's right. That's
We
right.
didn't need keys, we were just going in there
That's
with
right.
collars in the ground, so.
That's right. And it got kind of messed up. And
Okay.
stuff happened, but I think everything's over. I'm over it. You over it? Right on.
let's take the 5-minute break.
Yeah.
Come back and try to knock this out.
I'm getting ready to make some recording break.
How much longer?